Kid Chocolate was Cuba's first boxing world champion. By the time he made his professional debut on March 3, 1928, the young Cuban had already tasted battle in 3 semi-professional bouts. That night, he knocked out Juansario Rodriguez, better known as Kid Sotolongo, in the very first round of their scheduled 6-rounder. It was clear this wasn't just another fighter. Kid Chocolate had arrived. Moving up to the junior lightweight division, he kicked off 1931 with 4 straight wins, each one pushing him closer to his dream. Then, on July 15th, everything changed. Facing the reigning champion, Benny Bass, he delivered a stunning 7th-round knockout, making history as Cuba's first ever world boxing champion. 5 more victories followed, including a 1-round demolition of Scalfaro in their rematch. Riding high, he decided to test himself at an even higher level, challenging world lightweight champion Tony Canzoneri. After 15 grueling rounds, the judges gave the decision to Canzoneri, but Chocolate had proven he belonged with the best. The next year, he came back before he ever laced up gloves. Kid Chocolate, real name Eligio Sardenas, learned the art of fighting the old-fashioned way. In Cuba, he spent hours studying grainy footage of past champions, soaking in every move like a student obsessed with his craft. But watching wasn't enough. He needed to feel the fight. So, he stepped into the gym and tested himself against legends like Benny Leonard and Jack Johnson, both world champions. Outside the ring, he didn't just carry his fists for sport. If someone wanted a fight, he was always ready to give them one. With a vengeance, winning his first 8 fights, including a title defense in Havana against Davy Abad. But boxing never lets you stay on top for long. A rematch with Kid Berg ended in another 15-round decision loss. Undeterred, he stayed active, picking up 2 solid wins over Johnny Farr before stepping into the ring with Lou Feldman on October 13th. The fight was recognized as a world featherweight title bout, at least by the New York State Athletic Commission. It didn't matter. By the 12th round, Feldman was down, and Kid Chocolate had another belt around his waist. He defended that title twice, including a 3rd showdown with Fidel La Barba, before heading to Europe for a whirlwind tour. In Madrid, Barcelona, and Paris, he dazzled the crowds, winning every fight by decision. But glory doesn't last forever. When he returned to the U.S., he ran into Canzoneri again. This time, there was no need for the judges. Kid Chocolate was knocked out in 2. It was a brutal reminder that boxing can build you up just as quickly as it can break you down. But one thing was certain: Cuba's first champion had already carved his name into history. Christmas Day, 1933. The air inside the Philadelphia arena was thick with excitement as 4,000 fans watched Kid Chocolate defend his world junior lightweight title. He moved like he always did, smooth, fast, electric. For 6 rounds, he danced, landed sharp shots to the head and body, and kept a slight edge over his challenger, Frankie Click. Then came the 7th. A right hand crashed into Chocolate's chin, sending shockwaves through his body. His legs betrayed him. The referee had no choice but to step in. Just like that, the Kid was no longer champion. The newspapers didn't hold back. The flashy Cuban Bon Bon was stripped of his title by a whistling right smash to the chin. Maybe he was still feeling the effects of the brutal knockout he had suffered against Tony Canzoneri a month earlier. Maybe his body was running on empty, or maybe it was something no one saw coming. Not long after the fight, doctors discovered he was battling syphilis, a silent opponent that had been weakening him from the inside. The Kid walked away from boxing, but not for long. In 1934, he made a comeback and proved he still had plenty of fight left, winning 47 of his next 50 bouts. But the doors to another world title shot never reopened. The boxing world, once his playground, had moved on without him. By 1938, he had enough. The bright lights, the roaring crowds, the glory, it was all behind him. He had always loved the nightlife, but when his time in the ring was truly over, he went back home to Cuba. There, far from the chaos of boxing, he lived out his days in quiet, a champion who never forgot what it felt like to be on top. For years, Kid Chocolate was the pride of Cuba, the island's first world champion, a man who danced through the ring with style and flair. But after Fidel Castro's revolution in 1959, his fame faded into the background. The new regime had little interest in past boxing heroes, and for a time, it seemed as if Chocolate's name would be lost to history. Then, in the late 1970s, the Cuban government finally acknowledged what the people had never forgotten. Chocolate's impact on the sport was too great to ignore. They granted him a small pension, a late but meaningful gesture to a man who had given so much to boxing. He spent his final years in the same house he had bought for his mother when he was on top of the world. That's where he passed away in 1988 at home, in Cuba, where his journey had begun. But Chocolate's influence stretched far beyond his time. He became the inspiration for the character Chocolate Drop in Clifford Odets' play Golden Boy. Decades later, former WBO middleweight champion Peter Quillen, an American with Cuban roots, carried the nickname Kid Chocolate as a tribute to the legend. Even the great Sugar Ray Robinson, widely regarded as the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time, was in awe of him. Robinson once admitted he had never seen anyone move like Chocolate before. He studied his slick footwork, his graceful style, and made it part of his own game. In many ways, Robinson became a blend of his idols. He had the power and precision of Joe Louis and the balance and finesse of Kid Chocolate. Chocolate's legacy didn't just survive, it shaped the future of boxing.